California, a land of breathtaking beauty and boundless potential. It's a state that should stand as a beacon of progress and optimism. But today, California is burning.
There's nothing we can do now, bro. Yeah, let's get out of here.
We had everything, like the sentimental things. Like, my mom passed away. I had only a few things of hers left.
California has just suffered the worst and second worst wildfires in its history. Entire communities have been reduced to ash. Thousands are without a home, and millions live under constant fear of the next disaster.
Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're gonna do.
And at the center of this crisis is one man, Governor Gavin Newsom. But to understand Newsom, we have to rewind a bit to understand the history of California politics.
My name is Melissa, and I love living in California. It's one of the greatest places I've ever lived.
This is Melissa O'Connor, a citizen journalist and a resident of California who has been covering California politics for years.
4 families that have ruled California over the last 4 decades are the Newsoms, the Gettys, the Pelosi's, and the Browns.
That's right, Gavin Newsom's rise to power didn't happen just by accident. Gavin's father, William Newsom III, was a close friend and attorney for the Getty family, one of California's wealthiest dynasties. In fact, billionaire Gordon Getty personally funded many of Gavin's ventures, including the launch of Plumjack Winery. In 1995, Newsom hosted a fundraiser for then San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown at his winery, and just 2 years later, Brown appointed Newsom to the San Francisco Board of Supervisors, launching his political career. Probably just a coincidence, right? Newsom's aunt was married to Ron Pelosi, the brother-in-law of Nancy Pelosi, the former Speaker of the House and a towering figure in California politics. And then there are the Browns, a dynasty that has governed California for nearly a quarter of a century. Jerry Brown served as governor for a record 16 years across 2 non-consecutive terms, while his father Pat Brown held the office for 8 years before him. And Gavin Newsom, he served as lieutenant governor under the former.
They all help each other, scratch each other's back, donate to each other, bail each other out of problems. And if you're not in that ruling class, then you don't have a chance in making it in the state.
In a political environment dominated by an unchallenged ruling class, incompetence will thrive as accountability gives way to impunity. And this kind of politics isn't just corrupt, it can be deadly.
We are now at 27 lives lost in those devastating wildfires.
We saw an apartment building engulfed in flames. I saw the fire engine pull up this afternoon, a fire captain have one of his firefighters attach a hose to a hydrant, and that hose didn't fill up.
The high school caught fire, homes burning on either side, and that fire over the last few hours look at the dust right now.
Days before the fire broke out, the National Weather Service warned of dangerous conditions, dry air, high winds, and elevated fire risks. Now, while a press release from the governor's office suggested that Newsom had proactively positioned dozens of helicopters and fire engines in preparation for the strong and arid Santa Ana winds, whistleblowers later claimed that no firefighters were mobilized beforehand and no preventative action was taken to mitigate what would become the biggest fire disaster in the history of California.
The governor, mayor, and fire chief said they had been mobilizing starting in early January, but I am not sure where those units were staged or how many were called in. They should have had them there a day before the wind started so crews can scout the area, recognize safety zones, potential problem areas, and check water supply and things of that nature. I'm not sure that took place.
And by the time Newsom arrived on scene for a photo op, hands in his back pockets, for many, it was far too late.
We got a phone call from a neighbor saying that our house was on fire, and we knew that there were no fire trucks in the area, so we thought we would come up and see if we could get in the area.
And over the coming week, numerous Republicans, including President Trump, have lambasted Newsom's lackluster response, some criticizing the state's latest approved budget, which slashed $101 million from, quote, 7 wildfire and forest resilience programs. Now, I think that obviously makes for great partisan fodder, but the bigger story here is what he didn't do with the money that was allocated. Because if we zoom out, CAL FIRE's wildfire protection budget has actually increased significantly in the last decade, from $1.1 billion in 2014 to $3 billion in 2023. And on Gavin Newsom's first full day in office, almost exactly 7 years ago to the exact day the fires first erupted in the Pacific Palisades, he promised Californians that he would make wildfire prevention a priority.
We will place an historic investment in our emergency planning and emergency preparation in this state.
But a few years later, an investigation from Cap Radio and NPR's California newsroom found the governor had misrepresented his accomplishments and even disinvested in wildfire prevention. Quote, Newsom has claimed that 35 priority projects carried out as a result of his executive order resulted in fire prevention work on 90,000 acres. But the state's own data showed that the actual number was just 11,399. Newsom had overstated his accomplishments by an astounding 690%. So what you'll kind of notice is a pattern in that Gavin Newsom, he loves to hold these very popular press conferences espousing what I think is, quite frankly, pretty good sounding ideas most of the time. And he's undoubtedly a master orator, but after the cameras are put away, he doesn't seem to show any interest in actually doing the work.
Yes, we have nature, we have high winds, yes, we have fires, but there are so many ways we can mitigate these risks. We don't have to see the devastation.
The cause of the recent fires in LA are still under investigation, but one frequent culprit in past wildfires is no mystery: utility companies. Pacific Gas and Electric Company, PG&E, California's largest utility company, is responsible for igniting tens, if not hundreds of fires. And in 2018, their neglected equipment sparked the Camp Fire, the deadliest wildfire in the state's history. 85 lives lost, the town of Paradise reduced to ash, and over 30,000 residents displaced. And what did Gavin Newsom do? Well, during his 2018 campaign for governor, Newsom took $208,000 in donations from PG&E. And when asked by reporters how he could possibly hold PG&E accountable given their financial support of his campaign, Newsom dismissed the question as, quote-unquote, strange.
PG&E was convicted of 6 federal felonies in 2016. After that, you took more than $200,000 to help get elected. How should people trust you to be running the show to come up with the solution?
I wish you luck with whatever you're working on, but that's a strange question.
Is it that strange of a question? And when pressed on whether he would return the money, he said unequivocally, no.
Have you reconsidered giving the money back to PG&E that they contributed to your campaign?
No, my actions, if the suggestion is somehow contributions have changed actions, look what I just passed, look what I just signed.
Newsom was referring to AB 1054, a bill he signed into law in 2019 that looked like he was holding PG&E accountable, but in reality, the bill gave PG&E everything they wanted. The legislation introduced what they call safety certificates, except these safety certificates didn't actually require utility companies like PG&E to make their equipment safer, only to have a plan to make it safer. The law also allowed PG&E to tap into a $21 billion state insurance fund, half paid for by taxpayers, while shielding the company's shareholders from liability for fires their negligence caused. You see, he's clever because on the surface, it appeared that he's introduced an additional safety mechanism here in these safety certificates. But in reality, he's actually making things easier for the utility companies. Former members of the California Public Utilities Commission, the body responsible for granting these safety certificates, have alleged that Newsom's administration pressured them to rubber stamp approvals. One commissioner revealed that the decisions were micromanaged by Newsom's office, with clear signals to greenlight certifications regardless of the utility's actual safety improvements.
Governor Newsom's office was micromanaging the PUC?
Yes. Yes. Anything that we sent out, anything that we produced publicly, had to go through the governor's office.
As for the victims of PG&E's negligence, Newsom worked a deal where they would be paid in part with PG&E stock instead of a cash restitution. Predictably, the stock plummeted, leaving them billions short of what they were owed. Meanwhile, PG&E's creditors, including clients of Newsom's close friend and lobbyist Jason Kinney, were paid in full. And if the name Jason Kinney sounds familiar, it should. He was the host of Newsom's now infamous French Laundry dinner during the pandemic. If you remember, while Californians were under strict COVID lockdowns, Newsom dined maskless at a $350 a plate restaurant with Kinney, a PG&E lobbyist. That's Gavin Newsom in a nutshell.
He is going to overlook the basics of what we need in our state to cover for whoever he has made a deal with, and we are going to be sacrificed for that.
Governor, PG&E on its most recent earnings call said that it was going to go back to paying a dividend later this year. Meantime, the 70,000 wildfire victims are still waiting on their payments. They're being told not to expect to be paid in full. I'm curious to know whether you think that's fair and why, but more importantly, after your administration said that the state should ensure fire victims are treated fairly and fully compensated, is there anything, what do you plan to do to try to get those victims to 100% of what they're owed?
Well, we're here talking about the pending looming fire that's in front of us, and I appreciate the question on PG&E. That's well-established territory in terms of the comments we've made and the work we did collectively, not only as administration in partnership with the legislature. I don't know about the dividends call at PG&E, and I'll have to get back to you on that.
Why is it fair that they pay their shareholders but not their victims?
I'm sorry.
He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care. You see it on his face. When you bring it up, he's like, oh God, this again. And how many people in California have been affected by this?
A little bleak, I know, but as a California resident, I just want to say, we're not giving up.
So this is such a pivotal moment for our state to say, look, what matters at the end of the day? It is life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. It's each other, it's our community and our family, our safety and our well-being. And so just put, sides out of that and party preference and say, like, how can I serve my community in an elected official capacity? How can I run for a local city council seat? How can I support people who want to step up and serve for the next 4 years and make better decisions for our community? And I think it's just going back to the roots of our country, which is personal responsibility. So I think the answer for Californians is just, knowing what's going on in your community, knowing your neighbors, having a plan. Don't rely on Daddy Newsom to come and save you, because he's gone. And he's not looking back in his rearview mirror at us. So we just need to have agency over our lives again.
I think regardless of party politics or how you view Gavin Newsom personally, he is, in fact, a governor who took campaign donations from a convicted felon. And here I'm talking about PG&E. And as a result, he put Californians' lives at risk just so he could help his friends. And this type of corruption, negligence, and incompetence doesn't just apply to wildfires. The housing crisis, infrastructure failures, and economic inequality are all connected, and they point to the same problem, which is a governor who works to protect the powerful at the expense of the powerless. That is it for me this week. I just had my say about Gavin Newsom. Now it is your turn. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about Gavin Newsom in California, what you agreed with, what you disagreed with. Would love to have a chat. And if you would like to support me and this kind of journalism, please take a second to hit that like button. Share this video with as many people as you can. Subscribe if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification bell so you can be the first to know when my next video drops. As always, I'd love to thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one.